In part 8 of my toxic, narcissistic, psychotic ex-wife. We ended part 7 with me being in this situation where I'm working 2 jobs and I'm dealing with a child support issue. At this point, child support is taking 60% of my income from both jobs. And I'm in a situation where I can barely make it. And the court's refusing to look at my case and analyze the situation and make a decision that would give me some type of relief in this situation. Now, also, I'm dealing with my narcissistic, psychotic ex-wife and how she's out here telling the story about how I'm some no good, low down person because I'm dealing with this child support issue and they're taking all my money. But once again, you got to understand that this is what narcissists do. This is one of their traits. They take something that you're faced with, something you're going through, and they use that to say you're the one that's guilty, regardless of what the details is. So this was the story she was telling everybody. So this is what I'm dealing with at this point. Now, the problem with this child support situation for me, even though everything that they're doing is unfair, okay, but I'm dealing with it. It is what it is. It's nothing new for me. This is just part of life. But I find out that there's numerous other cases of men in situations that owe child support. And what's happening is because they don't have a job, the courts is allowing them to pay child support $5 or $10 a month and they don't have to worry about nothing. Now, this is really something to me because here it is, I'm working 2 jobs and they're taking 60% of my gross and I'm barely making it. I can't even live. But you got situations like this going on where y'all allowing people to pay $5 and $10 a month. This is unbelievable for me. It don't make sense. But this was the situation that I was faced to deal with. And it went on for 6 years. Now, after 6 years of going back and forth to court, fighting with these people, one day I go to court and I'm just assuming it's just going to be like all the other times. Because it's just been basically a routine thing. No matter what paperwork I file, I go to court and it's always the same thing. Now this particular day I go to court. Now, when I get called up in front of the judge is talking to me, but she's looking down at her desk, okay? She's going through the paperwork. She's going from this side to this side to this side. And finally she said, "There's something wrong here because they got you holding all this child support, but I'm looking at this and this stuff is not adding up. They got you being charged from the time you was a teenager, 14, 15 years old. They charging you for child support, but then I'm seeing even after you was grown, they're charging you at times where they shouldn't be charging you." She was like, "Look, I just found like $17,000 that you don't owe." And I said, "Your Honor, that's what I've been trying to explain for 6 years, but nobody paying me no attention." She was like, "Yeah, I mean, it's so many errors here that I'm seeing that you should not be responsible for paying because it's all wrong." So she said, listen, this is what I'm going to do for you. Instead of us going through all of this, this is what I'm going to do. Since all your children on the case are 18 now, the only one that's not 18 on this case is this child who you say is not yours, but the mother has not shown up in all these years. So what I'm going to do is this. You give me 25 payments. And what you're going to do is file this paperwork. Now, in this paperwork, this is to take off all of your arrearages, meaning all of the back pay that they say that you owe, okay? And this is going to wipe out all your child support. That's going to be it. So when you come back in front of me, you made sure you made them 25 payments, file that paperwork, and in 6 months, this is done. I left the courtroom feeling good because for the first time in 6 years, finally, they actually looked at this and seen that it was wrong. So I leave the courtroom, I go, and the next 6 months, I make payments every week. 25 payments, file the paperwork, I get my court date, I go back to court feeling good about this situation. Finally about to be off child support. I go in the courtroom, I give the clerk my paperwork. Now, the clerk checking the paperwork, she said, you're not on this docket. And she said, oh, here's the problem. You're in a different courtroom today. Now, for 6 years, I've been coming to the same courtroom, same time, never fails. But now I got to go to a different courtroom because why? I'm about to be off child support. Okay, I head over to this other courtroom. Now, as I'm walking up to this other courtroom, I notice some things that is different. But I ain't thinking nothing about it. I go in the courtroom. Again, something different. Ain't nobody in there but me. Which, again, I'm feeling good because my last name is S. The way the court's set up is they call cases by alphabetical order. By me being S, many times I'm always the last few that case get called. So normally, no matter what time I get to court, I got to sit there all day long. This time ain't nobody here. I ain't got to wait. So the judge calls my case. I'm standing there. She going through the case as always. She say, is Miss Chapman here? I say, no. She say, well, what is it that you expect me to do here today if she's not here? Now I'm scratching my head just like I just did. I said, Judge, the last time I was here, you told me, give you 25 payments, file this paperwork, and you're going to wipe out my child support. She say, well, how am I supposed to do that? Because this child is not 18 yet. And you actually can't do that until this last child was 18. And I said, Your Honor, that's not what you told me the last time that I was here. She said, well, I don't know what to tell you. And in my mind, all I'm thinking of, did this woman just lie to me the last time I was here? It blew me away. Because I'm standing there still kind of confused. So, what she was about to tell me next, I knew was coming. Because remember I said when I walked up to this courtroom, things looked different than the other courtroom? They had holding cells outside. And not just that. I got a sheriff deputy standing behind me. I've been coming to court 6 years. Ain't never had a sheriff deputy standing behind me, but there's one back there now. And he ain't standing there for nothing. She say, also, you're about to be taken into custody for non-payment. It took everything inside of me not to laugh in this woman's face. I said, Your Honor, those 25 payments that you told me to make the last time I was here 6 months ago, it comes out to $1,200 a month I've been paying for the last 6 months. She said, well, I ain't got no record of it in front of me, so you're going to be taken into custody for non-payments, And this deputy comes up, put me in handcuffs, and walked me right out there to the holding cell. Put me in there. Now, can you imagine the state of mind that I'm in at this point? Here it is. I'm coming to court feeling good, thinking I'm about to be off child support finally. But to end up not only not getting off child support, but to be locked up for non-payment. Man, I went to thinking all kind of thoughts in my head behind this. But as time went on after this situation, I started seeing so many other cases that was similar to my cases that people was talking about. I started seeing many lawyers and different people involved in the court system speaking out about the wrong that is taking place within the child support system. Yes, it's set up for people who don't take care of their children. But the problem comes in because when you have these cases where a person is not guilty and they don't look at it, they get caught up in this system of paying child support, overpaying child support, and they're in a situation where they can't even live and survive. It was so many cases. And then I was listening to another lawyer, and this stuff is going on in many different cities and many different states. And they was talking about how the way that the system has been set up in many places is that the state or the courts act as a collection agency. So when you got somebody that owes child support, it doesn't matter if it's to the parent or to the state. Them collecting this money, they actually get a fee of this money. You see what I'm saying? So therefore, they don't care about a situation where a man was actually there with his children from the time they was born. They don't care about what you did. The only thing they care about is that they got it on black and white that you owe this money, and they gonna collect it to get their fee. This blew me away. And when you really start analyzing this, especially just my case alone, okay, I can see it from when I first went to court and I had the other case that was on me that was $100 and some thousand, okay, even though these children wasn't mine. And the woman came in and even testified under oath that these was not my children. And what did the judge tell her? He said that even if the children just thought I was their father, I would be responsible for paying child support. Again, which is some really crazy stuff when you think about it. Because we've seen many men who get with a woman who got small children and the father's not around, he's not in their life, and that man takes on the responsibility as being the children's father. So you saying again, in a situation like this, down the line they break up, that man who is not the father is responsible for paying the child support, not the man who ain't been around. It's a crazy system. But this judge said this to me. And so when you start to analyze this, analyze the way that my case was, and they never looked at it, but then the judge looked at it and told me it was wrong. She told me she found thousands of dollars that I shouldn't have been responsible for paying. She told me about numerous errors, and she was going to allow me to pay 25 payments, file the paperwork, no more child support. I go back to court, and she totally reneged on the situation. Why? Because she was not allowed to take me off child support. Regardless of the situation. It's in black and white, so I'm guilty of it. And I'm forced to pay this regardless. It's the way everything was set up. It's a money grab, like so many other things in our society. Now, with me being in this situation, it's like you're in a lose-lose situation. You got your back against the wall. So what do? You can't win. You did everything right and still looked at as being somebody that did something wrong. But see, this is what I felt soon as I got out. Working 2 jobs. And I'm in this situation where I can't live, I can't survive. I couldn't even buy both of my youngest children a pair of shoes at the same time. So my back against the wall. Now you got to understand something. If you've been watching the series, Growing Up with Toxic Family, I even touched on it in this series. The things that I experienced as a teenage father. And I was in a situation where my back was against the wall. And what did I do? I found a way to get us up out of that. So here it is. Now I'm a grown man in a situation where my back is against the wall. Working 2 jobs. Not seeing no money. You think I'm not finna find a way out of this? Stay tuned. Part 9. I'm gonna show you what I